Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Dr.
Nabila,
Hassan.
good evening.
Ya,
Nabila,
Good evening.
Assalamualaikum.
alaikum salam.
Assalamualaikum, Dr.
Assalamualaikum.
Hassan. Good
Welcome,
evening.
everyone. Good evening. Nabila, are we recording? Nabila, are we recording?
Yes, Dr. Hassan.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Associate Professor Dr. Hassan Abuhassna, and I am very thrilled to welcome you to today's workshop on mastering literature, systematic literature review. So in this session is actually, can everybody please keep the mic muted so that we will not distribute the sound? Thank you very much. So in this session is actually designed to transform the way you approach research writing, specifically systematic literature reviews. So by the end of this session, you will feel confident to write your own systematic literature review. Before we get started, I would like to briefly introduce myself. I am the program lead, Master of Education ODL, here at Sunway University, and I will introduce you to the ODL program at the end of this session because I know you will be interested. I am specialized in online education, books, and e-learning, and I've been lucky enough to contribute to many publications indexed in Web Science and Scopus database, most of which are actually systematic literature review. So I want you to join the team of systematic literature review publications. And this is actually the main objective of today's session. And also, I have the privilege to supervise 8 master students and 3 PhD candidates that are waiting for their final viva, which I believe they are here today. So today's session is actually a handouts to master systematic literature review. We will explore how to turn the chaos of research into structured, meaningful insights. I do remember when I started my academic journey, I found writing literature difficult, overwhelming because of the numbers of articles that I had to go through. But today, I'm going to make you not to struggle, also to master systematic literature review, because when you get the confidence of writing your first paper, here is where you actually you will feel in love with systematic literature review, and I promise you, you will keep it as a habit to write at least once a month systematic literature review. So I divided this session into two main, let's say, section. I will first introduce the concept of systematic literature review, understanding the core concept, learning how to prepare the idea of the systematic literature review first. And then we will get the hands-on experience. We will actually start with drafting the paper. So please stick around. At the end of this session, you will be able to write your own systematic literature review. So why do we actually need SLR or systematic literature review? Imagine yourself as a PhD candidate or master graduate. The first thing that you need to do when you start your research project is actually reading, right? But when you read blindly, it will be difficult and overwhelming for you to, how to analyze all these kind of articles and papers, whether they are fed or not. And this is where systematic literature review comes in. So it will guide you through the way to a well-conducted review. It's like a road map. So if you ever feel like I don't know where to start. I don't know which theory fits my research. I don't know which methodology fits my research. Systematic literature review is the best way to organize your thoughts, right? Once again, can we please all keep the mic muted so that we will not affect the quality of the voice? Thank you very much. Why do we need SLR? As I mentioned, it will represent the entire research field. Imagine yourself as a PhD candidate in your first semester, for example. You don't know how to start, where to start, what is the appropriate methodology, whether I choose quantitative, qualitative, which theory fits my research. All these questions, they will get answered by systematic literature review. That's why I always advise it's like a compulsory for my PhD students to start with a systematic literature review, SLR, because it will lighten the way. And the good thing is that it will also highlight the research gaps. It will help you point out, unexplored areas from prior research. SLR also, it's not for one field only. It's not for social science or not for humanities only. It works for all research fields, engineering, medical, social science, any field that you would like to conduct a systematic literature review, you will do that. And also it will help you, as I mentioned, identify the perfect fit theories that you need in your research. I don't know what's happening in the screen. Nabila? I don't know who is start to sharing the screen. Please, can you stop sharing? Okay. Now, how to start your very first systematic literature review? Systematic literature review is actually, I want you to consider it as a relationship or as let's say, a main focus in one area only. What do I mean by that? To start with a systematic literature review and to be able to actually get this systematic literature review published, you need to set a focused research questions. So I always get this question from my students: what are the appropriate research questions for my SLR? And this is actually the first, the best answer for this question is from you as a researcher. What are you looking for in your systematic literature review? Are you looking for theories, research gaps, statistical approaches, methodologies that going to fit your study? Are you like confused whether I should use quantitative, qualitative for my study? It's so many questions that you will go through as a researcher. The best way to get these answers is by conducting the systematic literature review. So the first thing that we need to do, and we are going to do today, is to write the research questions. Consider the systematic literature review as a relationship between one theory and one variable or two variables, okay? Because systematic literature review is different from research papers. Research papers will go through the systematic way, developing a survey, developing a tool, and then collecting data, analyzing the data, and then that's it. In systematic literature review, our data, the source of the data that we have, is the keywords. So these keywords will identify the quality of the paper, the quality of the let's say the issue that you want to address. So you need to be very clear with the research questions. If you stick around, I will show you how we start with firstly, drafting the research questions. When talking about the SLR component as an article, it goes like any other research paper. Start with an abstract, introduction, methodology, results, discussion, and future agenda. What is really unique about SLR from other research papers is the methodology part and the future agenda part. When I say unique, I'm talking about methodology because this will show you how you carry out your research and the selection process of the articles, whatever a data database that you are using to select your articles and so on. So what to write in the introduction, first of all, and this is where I get so many questions: how to write a good introduction, whether for systematic literature review or for a research paper, or whether for my thesis or my dissertation. I always like to, let's say, divide the introduction into 500 to 1,000 words maximum, and I would follow what we call reverse triangle approach. And it's literally reverse because we follow, let me show you why we call it a reverse triangle approach. Because let's say I have an introduction, I will, let's say, divide it into 3 main paragraphs. The first paragraph here, which will be the let's say, a summary of the research topic from a previous study. We are talking general here, worldwide, global perspective. That's why it's a reverse triangle. And then the second paragraph, where we address the research gaps that's happening in your topic, the research gaps, right? And then thirdly, and that's why it's reverse triangle. This is where you clearly state your review aim, the main objective, the address, the research questions or objective of your study. So this actually goes for not only for systematic literature review, but in general, okay? So first, as I mentioned, what do we know about the problem in the first paragraph? And then second paragraph, you will tighten the research gaps. And thirdly, you will go with the main objective. What is this paper going to contribute? All right, now let's move on to the unique part of systematic literature review. I'm trying to speed up with the theoretical part so that I will take my time in the handouts because it needs, sometimes. As I mentioned, the methodology part is what makes this or any review paper unique from other research paper. So we do follow a systematic framework, a systematic way that has different stages. I really like to use Prisma framework because it's very clear, very simple to follow the procedure of it. So this Prisma framework will ensure that this review is transparent, comprehensive, and it follows a guideline. Because nowadays, we see that systematic literature review is a hot topic, and so many researchers are actually trying to write systematic literature review. But when it goes to submission and reviewing the systematic literature review, we discover many issues and problems in their articles. Why? Because they don't follow whether a framework or a systematic way to make the process clear, right? So the Prisma framework has 4 stages. The first stage is what we call identification. What we mean by identification is that we identify which, database that we are using. We define our main key research keywords. We will define the period of the research, whether for the last 5 years, last 10 years, and so on. And then we have the screening process or the stage where we apply the inclusion and exclusion criteria. You will get to know that in practical, but this is actually just to expose you to the process of Prisma framework. So once you select the database that you want to conduct your research, and then you go on the process, you will need some criteria. It's like filters that you apply among the articles so that you will have the best fit to ensure that the review is focused on the research questions that you have set. And then we have eligibility, and where you assess the quality of the studies. We do have, let's say, where you ensure that the study that you included in your review is relevant. And then finally, you go through the selection process where after you applied all the inclusion and exclusion criteria, the filters, and downloaded the papers, you will go through it manually, one by one, and you apply what we call quality assessment to ensure that the paper are a perfect fit for your research. All right. Now, this was a brief introduction for the systematic literature review. Now, let's try to, we will go back to the slides again. Now, what is the first thing that I usually do when I start any review paper? Okay. As I mentioned earlier, it's like, consider it as a relationship, okay, between one theory, one variable, two variables. So it's totally up to you. There is no, guidelines that will limit your choices here. It's totally up to you, your field, your supervisor, your interest as a researcher, and so on. So I will first look into the main keywords that I want to start my systematic literature review with, all right? Let's say I want to search something about online learning, okay, as the first keyword. And then, for example, technology acceptance model, which is TAM, all right? Now I have two main keywords. Okay. Based on these two main keywords, how should I draft my research questions? Because the research questions are everything, the roadmap for the whole, article or paper. As a researcher, I am interested to see whether online learning platforms, when it comes to technology acceptance model, does it have any other integration of models or framework? So what are, for example, what are the most utilized let's say framework, model, or theory in the research field of online learning and TAM? Okay. Now, this is a draft for the research questions, the first research questions. And I will need to identify the period. For example, for the last 10 years, last 5 years. I will not do that now. I will do it when I start with the Scopus database. Okay, this is number one. So the main, let's say, key concept here is the model, framework, and a theory. All right. for the second research questions, I want you to imagine, I want you to draft the research questions based on your need as a researcher, right? Let's say I'm looking for methodology approaches. So what are the methodology approaches or the most methodology approaches that have been used in the field of online learning and TAM. So the second research question will be about the methodology approaches. All right. Now, the third question will be about research gaps, for example. What are the most highlighted research gaps in the field of online learning and TAM? What else? Any other suggestions? Anyone would like to suggest any questions that we should look into?
What are the challenges faced
All
by
right. Thank you, Helmi. What are the challenges that have been or the challenges or obstacles that is happening in previous research? So what are the right? Now, when I introduce a systematic literature review, I mentioned that there are two main parts that are unique when conducting systematic literature review. The first one is the methodology, and the second one is the future agenda. And why this is actually important, because this is where other researchers will try to read your paper and cite your paper. So systematic literature review is actually one of the best way to get you noticed among your research field. Once you start writing systematic literature review, you will notice that the systematic literature review publications get more citation than research papers. Why? Because of this part of systematic literature review, which is future agenda. Why? Because it's a set of recommendations, a set of, let's say, suggestions for other researchers. So it's very, very important to involve future agenda as one of the research questions. Okay? Future agenda. All right. Now the list can go on and on. It's totally up to you as a researcher. But now we have at least like, a scenario where how to start. All right. Now the next step is yes.
Yeah. So if for systematic literature review, is it can include the analyzed paper? I mean, to find the weakness. Is it the same gap when I try to analyze to see where the weakness of the previous research?
Yeah, this could be one of the research gaps, the weaknesses or limitations. Or if you would like to separate, you can have the different questions, one for the research gaps and one for limitations, for example.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, welcome. All right. Now the next step is to have your scopus. Okay. First of all, Scopus is not free, so you need access to it, whether you from through your university or the company or the association that you're working on with. So this is where you get the interface of the Scopus that you start your search. All right, we have different categories of search. We have documents, authors, research discovery, organizations, and we have Scopus AI, which is very recently added as a Scopus. What we need to do is we need to use documents, and inside documents, we have search within. We have a bunch of, choices. But what we usually select in review papers is the article, title, abstract, and keywords. What does that mean? It means that whatever, keywords that I type here in the research domain, if these keywords are either in keywords, the abstract, or the article title, so means the article will be included in the results, right? Let me show you an example here. Now, always remember, as I mentioned, when you start drafting the systematic literature review, it is not a general topic. Avoid, studying general topics that has no meaning or outcomes. For example, if I only search about online learning and I hit search, I will get at least 300K articles about this. You see, 224,000 documents, which is a huge number. Why? Because we only have one keyword. Now let's get more specific. That's why when I start writing the systematic literature review, I will define the domains, the relationship, online learning and theory, online learning and, for example, student satisfaction, online learning and student engagement, transactional distance theory. So always consider it as a relationship. And for example, let's go with TAM. You see, now we have a very concise search. So the results went from 200,000 articles plus to 789 documents. And this is what we actually need in our research. So this is what you get when you start searching using two keywords, a relationship, what I like to call it, a relationship, okay? Now, the first thing to do is to look for the refine search. Here is where you start to, refine the results based on your need. So where you apply filters, the first filter is the period, the time, from which year to which year. Let's say, because this actually a trending topic, hot topic, so let's only include the last 5 years, okay? And because we are at the end of 2024, we still have December to go. We cannot actually include 2024 because it's not over yet, which means that there will be publications indexed in Scopus next month. So we exclude 2024. If you conduct this research next year, January, you can include 2024, right? So let's go, for example, from 2018 to 2023. And then you hit limit 2. You will notice after each filter I apply, the numbers of documents will decrease based on the filters. So now, whenever I apply any filter, if you activate the advanced query here, you will see that Scopus is recording everything that you actually apply. Why? This is the advanced query from Scopus that will be actually the basics of how to write the methodology at the end of it. So this is your methodology. Now you are working on developing on your research methodology for the systematic literature view. So, for example, here, title, key, which include the main keywords. So it will show the reader that this is the main keywords. And then, and publication year, more than 2017, which means 2018, and less than 2024, which means that 2024, neither 2024 or 2017 will be included. They are both excluded. Yes?
Sorry, Doctor. Can you share the screen, please? Because we cannot follow what you are saying. I cannot see the screen. Yeah.
You cannot see the screen.
Yeah, now it is fine. Now it is okay.
Okay, but I've been actually sharing since a very long time. This happened for quite a long time, or just recently?
After the questions, the research questions, the second one.
All right. Okay. So let me go back then, because it's very, very important. So you see nothing about the Scopus website? Okay. Now this is Scopus website. As I mentioned, you will have different categories here: the document, authors, research discovery, organization, and so on. What we use in our paper is the research by documents. Under documents, you will have different categories as well. We have all fields, article title, abstract, keyword, authors, and so on. What we choose is the article title, abstract, and keywords, which means that whatever keywords that I write here, it should be included in either one of these. Okay, if it is, so the article will be included. And then I will hit search. Once I hit search, I will see the documents, how many documents I get that are related to this topic. Okay, and here you will see refine search, where I can start refine my results, starting from the range of articles. All right. So as I mentioned, I will only include 2018 to 2023. Why did I exclude 2024? Because it's not over yet. So there will be publications next month, maybe, included or indexed in Scopus. So the results number of articles will be different. All right. And you will also notice that whenever you change any criteria or filters here, it will be added into the query. Right. This is the query from Scopus, generated from Scopus. And this is actually extremely important because this is where the methodology will, follow this query. So whenever inclusion, exclusion criteria that apply, it will be added automatically. For example, we have title. So once you select the two keywords, it will be added as a title keywords. And then we have publication years, which is more than 2017 and less than 2024. Neither of 2017 or 2024 will be included, right? Now let's go to the next criteria. We have author name. We don't really care about author names here. We have subject area, okay? And this is actually interesting because if you are working or, searching for the field of, for example, social science, so you will not be interested in other, publications. So it'll be very concise when selecting the subject area. So what I usually do when searching for online education or TAM theories, anything that is related to online or education technology in general, I would select social science, computer science, and arts and humanities, and that's all. So 3 subject areas. So, and also this is up to you. There's no standards of the subject areas, but I want the results to be more specific, you know, to avoid any articles that I will, because the process goes on, ending by the quality of assessment. And as many articles as you will have, at the end, you will go through manually. So we try to make this process as short as we can. So we limit the search for these 3 subject areas. And then we have document type here, where it will give you the ability to choose what type of documents that you want to include. And I also only choose articles. I want to avoid any conference papers, book chapter, or review papers, because mostly I will not be able to get access to this kind of, you know, articles. So I will limit to articles. And then finally, we have language. We choose English only, and then limit to. Scopus also added a very nice feature, which is called keyword. Okay, if I show all, I will see a numerous number of keywords that is actually related to either online learning or TAM, acceptance model. So this feature get you more, you know, concise with the results. So I will go through it, and then I will select whatever keyword that I see fit for my research. Technology acceptance model, TAM, online learning. If you know TAM, technology acceptance model, it actually consists of perceived usefulness and ease of use. So I will also include these 2 because they are part of technology acceptance model. I would also like to include learning management system as one of the online platforms, technology adoption, online education. So whatever keywords that you see relevant, related to your 2 main keywords, you will simply include it in your research. Okay? All right, now let's go with limit 2 as well. So see, the number is different now from 700 plus to 238 as the results or the final results that you included in the research. But are these articles that the last number that I want to include in my review? Not yet, because I need to download it first. After I download, then I will go through the quality assessment. Only then I will know the last number that will be included in my review. For now, what I need to do is that I'll just copy this query. I'll go back to my Word file. Please let me know if you don't see my screen at any times. Okay, so this is the query here, which will be the translation of the methodology later on. So it's extremely important. And also what I need from Scopus is that these numbers of documents, because if you can see, I'll show you one of my systematic literature view as an example. You see my screen, right?
Yes.
Good. Now, this is one of my systematic literature view. We download it. If you go directly into the methodology part, This is the Prisma framework that we have discussed earlier. As we mentioned, it has different stages. First, you start with the identification. Okay, we have different numbers here. Records identified from Scopus, because I use different database, so I have different numbers. The Scopus is 131. Web of Science is 116. This is the first number that was included in the first search. But finally, the numbers included in my review is only 31. Why? Because I have records excluded after the manual evaluation, which is a quality assessment. I also only retrieved 92 articles from the 131. So you will lose some articles once you start downloading as well. What I want you to understand is the number is getting, decreased after each stage, which is totally normal, right? Now let's go back to our search. Okay, this is Scopus. I wanted to clear all the filters so that, because I forgot to take the first number. Okay, so the initial search of articles was 789 documents. Now, after inclusion and exclusion criteria, the number is, let's go back, 238 documents. Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need to get these articles into our device, download it so that we can start with the next process. How to do that? You can simply download from Scopus, but downloading from Scopus will only allow you to download 50 documents at once. Okay, so you go hit results, you start from 1 to 50, and then download. Now, once you download the first 50, you see they are downloading here into my device, but not all of them will be downloaded. This is very normal. Okay, the half, maybe more than half of them will not be retrieved. Okay, so you will repeat this process until you finish this number. So you will download again from 51 until 100, and another download. You will keep on doing this until the 238, all of them are downloaded. It's not necessarily to all of them to be retrieved, but to be downloaded. Because they are not much, I will do it with you. So I'll start from 101 to 150. Download. If you go to download in your device, you will see the articles are actually there as PDF files. You see? These are the articles that I just downloaded here. Okay. So I will continue with the last 151 to 200. And then I have one more to go from 201 to 238. And then I will be good to go. 201 to 238. Okay. Now let's go back to download and see how many articles are actually downloaded into my device. Because this number is also going to be, documented. So let me select the articles first. And it appears to be actually much. 131 downloaded, which is great number. I don't usually get this number, but because this topic is actually very hot and trendy, so I will just put them in a new folder and then paste the articles here. And I'll go back now. We said we have 131. Okay. Now, retrieved documents. Retrieve 131 documents found. Okay, can anyone tell me whether this 131 documents will be included in the analysis? Or should we do anything else?
No, these articles will be filtered down and only the most relevant ones will be used for the analysis.
Yes, great, great. Thank you very much. And this is what we call quality assessment. Quality assessment. So we will go through these 131 documents. And what I usually do is that I will, firstly, this is what I call first scan. I will go to this article one by one, manually, and read the title, read the abstract and keywords, and I will make sure that both online learning, which is the main topic of my research, and TAM, technology acceptance model, are there and are used, because many researchers, unfortunately, they will type, irrelevant keywords into their research. So by doing so, they will increase the number of articles, but they will do more work for us when we, do systematic literature review. So if you see any of these articles, and you will see irrelevant articles. So what I want you to do now, I want you to go through these 131, one by one, which will take a lot of time, I know, but it's worth it at the end. And then you will start, I want you to open a note. Anyone that you excluded, any articles that you have excluded from these downloaded articles, I want you to write the reason why it's been excluded. For example, irrelevant, out of scope. Maybe in some cases you will see that some articles are downloaded in English, but the abstract only in English and the other article in Russian or Chinese. So you will exclude these articles as well, because we are looking for a full text in English so that we can read and analyze. And then when you are done, you will write the fourth number that we have here, which is, for example, let's say 35 documents after quality assessment. All right. Now, we do have these four numbers and this query. Based on these two, we will start to write our methodology. Any idea how to do that? Any idea, any opinions?
I guess in the methodology section, we have to explain each step that we undertook for getting these particular articles. So we will begin by on which date we did the search, what query string we used, the total number of documents, and all those elements we'll highlight in the methodology section.
Brilliant. Yeah, exactly. But how to do that? Do we have like a framework that we need to follow or a roadmap, guidelines?
Oh yeah, the Prisma
A
one we can
Prisma.
use here.
Yes, exactly. And this is where we apply the next step, which is very, very important, which is the Prisma. And Prisma, by the way, it's actually provided as a template that you can get from the internet. So you need to actually type Prisma, and you will have a different charts. I want to select the first one, which is for the let's say the simple template of Prisma. Once you open it, you will have this chart, and you will start translating whatever you've done in Scopus into this chart. So we have learned that Prisma has three main stages, starting with identification, screening, and inclusion and exclusion. If you go back to my, where is it? Oh, I think I closed it, but it's here in the download. Yeah, if you go back to this Prisma, you see the numbers based on each stages. So first, we start with the records identified, right? So first, records identified from. Where did you conduct your research? Scopus only. We didn't use any other, database. So what is the first number that we got from Scopus database? It is 785. Okay. Let me just copy these because I need them later on. Let's open Prisma and just paste it here. Okay. So N database, Scopus database will be N789. 789. All right. We don't have any other database, so we just stick with one. Okay. Records removed after screening. This is the when you get to use two databases, and then, for example, if you use Scopus and Web of Science, you will get some duplicate articles or records. Why? Because mostly not all of the Scopus index journals are indexed in Web Science. So when you search in Scopus, you will get, for example, 130. In Web of Science, you will get around 170 or 160. So the 130, probably 80 or 90 of them will be duplicate. So you will need to make sure that you remove any duplicate records all around the way. Okay. So now we don't need this. We'll move on to the after identification. We identified 789. And then what happened? What happened is after the inclusion and exclusion criteria, we included only 238. So the records is 238, which means that we excluded, let me calculate, 789 minus 238, 551. 551 excluded after the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Are you clear, guys? Everything is good? Do you need anything that's not clear? Are you following? Okay, great. Now, next, when we got this number, 238, we downloaded, right? So reports, after we download, we got this number, 131. 131. So 238 minus 131, 107 is not retrieved. 107 is not retrieved. Remember, when I told you, when you go through the quality assessment, which means the 131 articles that you retrieved, successfully downloaded into your device, you will exclude mostly half of them, mostly, if not more, okay? So I want you to record the reasons that you excluded these articles. Out of scope, irrelevant, language, whatever reasons that you need to state. Because here you will state all these reasons. Okay. Now we downloaded 131. Reports not retrieved 107. Let's say after I did my quality assessment, I excluded 60. All right. So from 131, I will include only 71. So the reports excluded will be irrelevant. How many irrelevant articles? Let's say n equal 8. So if you excluded 8 articles because they are irrelevant to the research scope, then you need to highlight this under this reason. Okay. For example, yeah, you just write irrelevant here as reason 1. And then how many of these articles? Okay. For example, out of scope, right? Let's say 30. And then language, let's say 22. All right. By doing that, we have stated the reasons why we excluded these 71 articles. Finally, I will get the final number that are excluded in my research, which are 60 articles. And this is how you build the Prisma framework, which is a huge part of the methodology part, by the way. Any questions so far? Are you clear with this process?
Sorry, Doctor.
Yes.
In the Prism framework just now, the end part is included 60 or included 11 minus the report excluded?
The studies in my case that I included are 60 because I excluded 71.
I
The
thought
number
you
that
excluded 60 on the right side.
I downloaded 131. Okay. Let's say after I go the quality assessment, I excluded 60 or 71, doesn't matter. What I want you to understand is that it depends on you, how you conducted the quality assessment. Then you need to mention all the reasons why you excluded these numbers. And then finally, you will come out with the number that you will include in this particular review. Okay, so
right,
from these articles, which are 107, let's say 71 are excluded because of these reasons, then 60 will be included in this study. That's all. Clear?
Sorry, doctor.
Yes.
So the final number that we will get, this is just the number of, we will add it in the in reference section, right? Just only the final number have to be all in the reference section.
These are the articles that will be included in your study that you are going to review.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay.
All right.
Now, let's explain about writing the methodology itself, which could be challenging sometimes, but I find it very easy. Because once you understand the way that you downloaded the articles and how Prisma works, because we already applied in Prisma, so everything else will be like, you know, filling in the blanks. So you see here, as an example, the materials and method. What I've stated here is this SLR aims to, which means the main objective of your research, which in my case, investigate the relationship between online learning and technology acceptance model. This is the main, let's say, objective. So how do I achieve this objective? By following SLR. What is SLR? It is the guidelines established by the preferred reporting items for systematic review and meta-analysis. And this is actually a shortcut. Prisma is a shortcut for the preferred reporting items. So I need to mention this, I need to cite the reference for Prisma, okay? And then I will start to add the Prisma framework stages. Firstly, with the inclusion and exclusion criteria, whatever inclusion criteria that I have added in Scopus database, I will mention it here now. And how to do that? From the query that I downloaded. That's why I told you the query that you get from the database is the methodology, literally, okay? So you will state that this study is, followed a set of inclusion and exclusion. I like to put it in a table, more organized, So in the inclusion criteria, I will include anything that it's been mentioned as inclusion. For example, the main keyword, the main two keywords, which is in my case, online learning and TAM. And then if you remember, only articles have been included. So conference, blogs, book chapters have been excluded. Okay. Articles written in English is included. Any other languages was excluded. In this research, the period was from 2012 to 2022. In my case, will be 2018 to 2023. Publications before 2017 and 2024 was excluded. Why? I will state the reason. Because 2024 is not over yet, so might be additional, articles will be included into this year. And also will include the subject area. I included 3 subject area: social science, computer science, and arts and humanities. All right. I think that's easy. But now, when you move on to the next section, which is data sources and search strategies, where you get to be very, very careful. Okay. So this is where you actually take this query. You see this one? This query here. You see, it's like codes, You need to translate that into academic writing. Literally. So you need to start with stating that you have conducted this research in 28 November 2024. What database? Scopus database. What are the main reason for this research? The main objective. Why only Scopus database was included, if you have any reasons, okay? So for example here, in January 2023, the search of articles was undertaken. The study analyzed all publications discovered in the relevant database from 2012 to 2022. The year 2023 was removed as it is not yet complete, okay? So based on the timing of this review, the term publication, which was in the query, now you need to translate that into words, okay? PUB year, more than 2011 and 2023 was, you know, so you will start translating firstly the periods, the years, and then the keywords here. Whenever you move or you finish one point, you move to the next point, you will provide an evidence from the query. See, I started here with the publication year. And then I explained this query. And then I moved on to title abstract, which is the main keywords. I explained these keywords. Also, I used exact keywords here. I will mention these exact keywords. In my case, I use 5 to 6. I will just add them. All right. Now, after you finish translating the query into words, you will start now with the numbers are written in Prisma framework. You see here, the first Web of Science data search for this research found 116 papers. Okay. Now this study evaluated a total of, 116 from Web of Science, and then from Scopus we have 131. So in total, they were 247. Now, 247, because we have two database reveal that 108 of these Web of Science articles are duplicate in Scopus. So everything is written. Everything that you go through, you click in Scopus or Web of Science, it will be written here in the methodology part. So the final numbers was 247 articles. However, after deleting duplicates, only 131 remained. Now the researchers downloaded the articles from each database. Okay, so whatever number they get as retrieved, you see, only 39 of 131 articles were retrieved or accessible. Okay, and then the researchers done the manual evaluation or the quality assessment. Now, let me stop here for a second, because this is actually one of the most criteria when conducting a review paper or systematic literature review. The quality assessment, where you get the downloaded articles and you start reading one by one, is actually extremely important section of, recommending the article to be published or not. How? Because some journals, if you are not experienced in systematic literature review, this is your first systematic literature review, they will not accept the paper if you are a solo author. They need at least 2 to 3 authors to do the evaluation, the manual evaluation, or what we so-called quality assessment. It's very, very important that you make sure that, because they want to avoid any, kind of what we call it, misleading, information or non-ethical, procedure. So they want to make sure that at least 2 or 3 authors have done the quality assessment. Okay. Only then you will come out with the final number of articles that it will be included in this research. Any questions so far?
Yes,
then-
doctor, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So if most of the journals require more than one author, in that case, there would be 2 or 3 people who would be conducting the quality assessment of the articles.
Yeah,
But then again, there would be a question of the agreement between these coders. So do we need to do any, do we need to write any section that justifies the agreement between the coders?
Okay, nice question. This will actually go at the end of the paper. Let me show you here. We have something that's called author contributions. You see, because I've conducted this research with my colleague. So here, HA, which is me, done the formal analysis, and then SA is my colleague. He's done the methodology, project administration, so on. So you need to clarify your role and his or her role, your partner. So it goes under the author contribution. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, doctor, understood.
Any other questions? All right, now, after we mentioned that this goes through the quality assessment, we will start to write the reasons that we mentioned in the Prisma framework. You see here, 8 publications were discarded after being screening using inclusion criteria for reasons such as using the phrase instructional design, but not ID models, because this paper was into ID models in particular. All right, so you will start writing all the reasons why they were excluded from the analysis. Now, if you've done that, you are done with the methodology, which is, let's say, it's not complicated, but it's very, straightforward that you need to follow the instructions of the Prisma framework. And that's why we call it systematic literature review, because we follow a systematic, guidelines or whatever framework that we choose. Okay, now let's go back to our research questions that we have created from the first place. What I usually do here, before I do anything after the methodology and the Prisma framework and so on, I will create a table, right? Now, how many questions we have? We have 5. And I would like to add 1 column for the authors and one, what I really call it as labels. I will show you why. Okay, so this is the table that will be my whole work will be in this table, because this table, if it's done, then the paper is ready. You just need writing. Let me show you. The first column, what I use to call it is label. Second will be authors. And then third, each column will be the answer for 1 research questions. So here, the utilized framework and so on. Second will be the methodology approaches. Third will be research gaps. And then we have challenges and obstacles. And lastly, we will have future agenda and recommendations. Okay. What to do now? You remember when you excluded the articles, you have, let's say 60, 40, 50, whatever number is. You will go through each of these articles and then answer these 5 research questions from each article. So let's say, why I call it label, because it will make, my life easier. So I'll go back to the folder here, and I'll start to rename it. This paper is A1. This one is A2. This one is A3, and so on. All right. So I'll go through A1 first. I will open the article. First thing that I need to do now, these articles are 100% fit of my study. They are included. Okay. I'm not here to, ask questions whether they will include or not. It's been done already. Now, these are articles that I am starting to analyze for my review. Okay. First, I will go through the paper because mostly you will find the citation here. Okay. Then I will, for example, here we have Johari. So I will write Johari ATL. Okay, what year? 2023. Okay, and this will be A1. You will thank me later about this label because it's very, very helpful. Whenever you get confused between the 2 articles in the middle of the table, and then you want to go back to these articles, if they are not, renamed as labels, it will be very, very difficult for you to understand. All right, now Johari paper, I need to look into these 5, questions in this paper. Firstly, the utilized framework, model, or theory. This information you will get either from the abstract or the theoretical background. Okay, so you need to go through these articles one by one and find the answers. And let me show you here what I am talking about. This table. You see this table, the appendix for this paper. This table will take, a lot of time, a lot of work, but it will, once you finish this table, you see this is huge. So many, pages and information. I have gone through each article to answer for this question, and then 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Okay, so you'll go through these articles one by one and answer these research questions. Clear? Any questions? Great. Let's assume that you are done with the appendix, which is great because you will be mostly 80% of the way there. You will start writing the results. Now we have 2 sections left, the results and discussion. Can anyone tell me what are the difference between results and discussion? Any idea?
Results are direct translation from the data collected. Discussion are more on the synthesis of the ideas of
Exactly.
the things.
Exactly, 100%. So results are only, elaborating whatever data that you have from table, chart, figures. All right. So you will not reflect your opinions or arguments as an author. So you just stick with whatever data that you have. So you just explain it, elaborate it, and that's it. In the discussion part, it's a comparison between 3 main things. This result, the current results of the study, previous studies, and your opinion as a researcher. If you do this 3 things in writing the discussion, it will be perfect. Okay, and this is what we call, critical thinking and academic writing. If you reach this level of writing the discussion, believe me, it will be brilliant. So when you go through the results, I want you to go through the results and discussion in the same, you will go through each question aside. So you address the first question in the results, and then you will go into a different file, discuss this because the information is fresh in your mind. So for example, this was the first question as a result. It has a table that belongs to this results, which was related to the theories. That's why it's huge. And then second was, about educational settings, which has online learning, MOOCs, and so on. It's always good to have visualizations of your results, whether you use tables. I personally use Adobe Photoshop back then. All right, so it's always good to use visualization of the results instead of, you see, this is how I came out with the distribution as a geographical distribution of the articles. So I created this map, 42% USA, 2% Turkey, Australia, and so on. And now when you finish with the results demonstration, all the results that you have, not reflecting your own perspective in these results, you write the discussion where it's time to compare the current results of your study with previous studies and reflect on it as an author. Finally, you will go with the conclusion and limitations if there is any in your research. And I really hope it was clear to you, starting from the keywords until you reach the conclusions of your research. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? Please go on and yeah.
Lecture?
Yes, please.
So is there any restriction about the number, the total number for the articles that will be analyzed, the final number? Is there any journal put the restriction for number? Because, for example,
Okay.
if the final number, I have to see, for example, the guideline for this journal, if this journal have limitation for number of reference, for example, then I have to decide how many number, because now as you mentioned, if the topic is trend, maybe I need to reduce the number of year of, or if for example, if this subject is rarely, so I have to increase the number of years. So what is the tips here?
Okay. First of all, there's no, restrictions about the numbers, what numbers that you should include, or the journal will not tell you that we will not accept your paper unless you review 30 papers. But you need to understand that you are working on systematic literature review, which means that your job is to make other researchers' life easier. How? By doing a summary of the research. Imagine yourself as a PhD candidate, instead of reading 60 papers, you will read one paper only, which is systematic literature review. And this is the whole point of systematic literature review. So if you see that if I write a paper that analyzed 25 articles will be enough, then that should be okay. Okay. My personal opinion, do not go below 20. So it will have a contribution to the knowledge. All right.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
Sorry, Doctor. I just want to listen to your take. When we are putting the limits in the Scopus website in order to reduce the numbers of the paper, is there any tips that we can use to identify the keywords that we should take into consideration? I mean, for example, I'm trying to focus on ODL in terms of English language teaching, right? So when I look at the limitation there, you also have EFL, I mean foreign language. They also introduce something in terms of tertiary education, secondary education, and whatnot. Should I try and error, I mean multiple times, and finding out the best that suits my study, or what is your take on this?
Okay. My advice on that is that you always, because you are an expert in your field, always choose the most relevant keywords together so that you will find articles, because this is actually a very common question where researchers don't find articles when they conduct the research, like 15 or 20. So once you started the search, it must be at least 200 to 300 before any criteria included, because once you started to include the criteria, the number will decrease. At the end, you will have maybe 5 articles to include in your systematic literature review, which is not enough. So my advice is always try to use relevant keywords together so that you know that there is a relationship between online learning, for example, and platforms, online learning and TAM, technology acceptance model, online learning and student satisfaction, and so on. Okay. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
Okay, we have a question from Anna. May I confirm if this is possible to publish an SLR with only one author? Do we need to provide justification for each inclusion and exclusion criteria? Thank you. Okay, I mentioned that if you don't have any previous research, systematic literature review, you need at least to have another author so that it will be justified, and also for the quality assessment. For the inclusion criteria, no, you don't need any justification. It's actually up to you as an author to apply it. All right. If there are very little articles about our topic, like 15, what can we do? As I mentioned to Helmi just now, try to use the most relevant keywords in your research area so that you will get a good number of articles. Do we have to include the justification for not including the current year? Yes, as I mentioned in the methodology part, that 2023 was not included because it's not over yet. Okay, do we have any other questions? Because I need to introduce you to the program, ODL program at Sunway, which is, I believe, is very amazing. If anyone will be interested in coming on board, maybe I will supervise you guys in your next academic journey. So basically, we have an amazing program which is called Master of Education ODL. The good thing about this program is 100% online, so you don't need to be there unless you want to see me and you want to discuss something with me. You are almost welcome, but the program is 100% online. It's for part-time, so you don't need to worry about it. It's actually provided into a very, very unique way we call it blocks. So each semester you will have 3 blocks. So you will study one course at a time, only one course for 7 weeks. It's fully provided online. We have an amazing platform that we call eLearn. In eLearn, you will be access to the full resources provided from Sunway once you get your registration. And then you will be provided with a whole bunch of resources. The whole content is there. You just need to be there to go through the content. And then the good part is that we meet once a week. So you meet once a week with your instructor so that you get the chance to discuss with him or her whether you have any difficulties, any inquiries, and so on. And also we have an amazing tool that we call it discussion, where you can post there any inquiries that is related to the course, and also you get the chance to get familiar with your classmates even though you are online. But believe me, because based on my previous classes, it was an amazing experience using the discussion. So this master program is called ODL program. We have 7 core subjects and we have 3 elective subjects. The core subjects are very tailored to be related to the, let's say, the era that we live in. So we have a very trendy topics, for example, trends and future in digital learning, designing and innovating in sustainable teaching and learning. And also we have research methodology, where you get prep for your research project, because you will have research project 1 and 2 as the first, blocks in your study, so that you will conduct a mini research following whatever structure and content that you have learned in the research methodology course. And also we have tailored electives where you choose 1 electives only. So in total, you have 8 courses and 2 research projects. And as I mentioned, it's actually very fun experience based on my previous feedback students. It's personalized learning. You don't have to do anything or search for anything. You don't have final exams. For each subject, you have 3 assessments where we actually test or examine your academic writing, critical thinking. So these 3 assessments will be a reflection of how much you got or how much you understood from the course. And also we have, in Sunway, we have the top 2% of the researchers ranked globally, where you get the chance to work with them personally and get yourself noticed in the research area. For the entry requirements for our ODL program, it's actually very flexible. If you have a bachelor degree with a GPA of 2.5 or not, if not, you have 5 years of experience, you are good to go. And finally, a student with international, background, they need to have IELTS to enroll in our program. And why you choose Sunway University? Because it's simply one of the top universities around Asia, especially in Malaysia. If you need any information or inquiries, you can contact me personally, or you can contact this information here, the number or the email. And I'm very, very pleased to meet all of you today. It was a great pleasure. And I would like to ask if there is any questions before we end our session today. Jason, go ahead.
Doctor, can this method be used for PhD thesis writing or chapter 4 literature review?
Yes, of course. As a PhD candidate, you need to come out with at least one or two systematic literature review all the way. And as I mentioned earlier, I advise my PhD student to write their own systematic literature review before they start anything, because it will get your mind, open to the most used theories, methodologies, research gaps. So it's a must actually to have a systematic literature review. And yes, you can use some of the content in your chapter 2.
I mean, the form, for example, I can directly write, I use SLR in my PhD thesis writing, or I just cancel the SLR process, just summarize the literature. Because someone said SLR, it's not comprehensive for PhD literature review.
I didn't get your question. You mean you want to follow only systematic literature review and writing your thesis?
I mean, does PhD chapter 4 literature review can directly use SLR form or process or not? Because someone told me PhD thesis literature review shouldn't use SLR because it's too narrow or it's not comprehensive. I'm not sure, so I just consult you.
Okay, let me explain it to you. You can use SLR as part of chapter 2 literature review, but not all the chapter. You see, for example, if you want to talk about technology acceptance model among university lecturers, so you need to come up with an introduction, some of the previous research, and then you summarize these articles in one table, which we call it systematic literature review. So it can be part of it, not all of it. Okay, so you make sure.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So you make sure that your literature review is not a book, neither only systematic literature review. It's like a mix between these two. So you will provide the quality required as a PhD student.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Welcome. Ahmed, go ahead. Ahmed Salimi.
السلام عليكم، مرحبا دكتور.
عليكم السلام.
هل يمكن طبعا الكلام باللغة العربية؟ أنا لا أتقن اللغة الإنجليزية طبعا.
Okay.
رغم أنني فهمت بعض المعلومات.
Okay, no problem. He wants to speak in Arabic. Go ahead. I will answer in English. No problem. Yeah.
شكرا جزيلا دكتور. دكتور، عندما يتشارك أكثر من باحث في ورقة علمية، مثلا 3 باحثين كما ذكرت سابقا، هل في المنهجية يذكر كل باحث ما قام به في الورقة العلمية؟ وشكرا جزيلا لك.
We mentioned that if there are multiple authors for the article, we mention this part in the final part of the article where we state the contributions of authors. So it's a different part. At the end of the article, we mention that these are the contributions for each one of them. Ahmed did something, Muhammad did blah, 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 and so on. All right?
نعم دكتور، شكرا جزيلا لك.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to tag on the Ahmad question just now. This might sound silly, but if let's say our second or third author, we do analyze the paper together, and we come up with different ideas on the papers itself, right? Well, in easy way, we should not put it in the paper itself. But let's say that the difference in understanding or perhaps the opinions between the authors are really significant, something worth to be shared as point of view that later on could be used as supporting ideas for our papers. Should we do that, or is it a risky move?
No, I see it as the other way around, because this is why we have systematic literature review, because we want to trigger your, critical thinking. So it would be lovely to share these kind of, results in your systematic literature review.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Yes, most welcome. Okay, guys, do we have any other questions? All right. That's yep.
I have a question, please, Doctor, if you can.
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Doctor, my question, I have two questions, please, if it's possible. The first question, is there a difference between research question and review question? I read that sometimes they call it a review question, and sometimes it is a research question. Is there any difference between them?
Yes, the review research questions will be directly to what this review is going to contribute. But maybe in some cases, you will have this similar question for both review and research papers in some cases. But the review paper are very particular in finding information based on these articles that I review as an author. So it's kind of unique for review papers. All right.
Okay,
Second,
I really submitted to SLR to some Q1 at the top journals in the world, Q1. But three of them said that novelty, there's no novelty in the SLR. But when I submit to somehow Q2, they accepted it. What do they mean, Doctor, by novelty in the research course, in the research or SLR?
okay. Novelty simply means that you are doing something that have not been done before. So when they claim that there is no novelty, it means that your work is actually have been done before, or it's similar to other researchers' work. And that's why we find some difficulties when dealing with SLR Q1 journals, not only in review papers, also for research papers as well. So once you target Q1 journals, you want to come out with something totally new that has not been studied before. Okay?
I see. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Yes, most welcome. Any other questions? Can we turn on the camera to take a picture, all of us, if that's okay with you? Anyone would like to join us in the picture? Okay. 1, 2, 3. I need to take multiple pictures. Such a huge audience. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. Such a pleasure to have you all. Right, last one. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thanks.
Thank you.